Kia ora, welcome to Central News for Monday, the 2nd of June. I'm Hilary Entwistle. Waipa Mayor Jim Milcrest says the installation of a new electricity line can't come soon enough for Te Awamutu. Council has signed off on the first part of a deal which would see it grant an easement for a new 110 kilovolt electricity line to be installed by Waipa Networks in Te Awamutu, subject to appropriate approvals. Waipa Networks will need to apply for a designation and resource consents for the new line to Waipa, Otorohanga and Waitomo district councils. The councils are likely to publicly notify the applications and appoint independent hearing commissioners to consider the applications. Floodway improvement works at Graham's Creek will go ahead after Waikato Regional Council has approved a budget of up to $600,000 in its 2014-15 annual plan. The works are subject to Thames Coromandel District Council upgrading the Manaia Road Causeway Bridge in accordance with the scheme design. The floodway improvement works will mean that there will be greater protection against flooding, such as the event in December last year. Targeted rating for the work will be implemented from July the 1st, 2015 and based on a 30-year loan repayment to reduce the annual rate burden on landowners. Organisers of New Zealand National Agricultural Field Days are pleased to announce the finalists who will compete for the prestigious title of Field Days Rural Bachelor of the Year 2014. The finalists are Brett Stees, 25 of Te Rau, Fraser Liard, 26 of Wanganui, Jeff Peake, 30 of Morrinsville, Jimmy Bentham, 28 of Te Aroha, Matthew Smith, 22 of Pātea Tonga, Michael Payton, 26 of Northwood, only one from the South Island this year, with Thomas Denham, 29 of Harihari, and the competitor from across the ditch is Josh Gilbert, 22 of New South Wales. The competition takes place at Field Days, the 11th to the 14th of June. However, the action kicks off on Monday, the 9th of June, when the Bachelor finalists set off in an amazing race to Field Days from a mystery location, completing several rural activities and tasks en route. Federated Farmers Waikato are holding a free seminar on health and safety on the farm on Wednesday the 4th of June at 4 p.m, Leamington Rugby Sports Club Rooms, Carroll Street, Leamington, Cambridge. Federated Farmers Waikato says there are obligations under the Health and Safety in Employment 1992 Act that everyone in the rural sector needs to be aware of. Employers have an obligation to make sure that employers and visitors to farms are free from any work hazards and accidents. The Federation says with all the recent media coverage on farm accidents and health and safety on farm inspections, rural workplaces have the message that they must implement a health and safety plan to eliminate, isolate or minimise hazards. Just ahead, Tauranga Pride. Welcome to Central News. Tauranga youth questioning their sexuality now have somewhere safe to feel supported. I caught up with one of the members of the new group, Tauranga Pride. Nick, why do you think there is such a need for Tauranga Pride or something like this in Tauranga?
Well, Tauranga Pride is all about support. So for Rainbow Youth in Tauranga, so we are the minority of society, which is quite sad really, so we are completely open to all youth aged 16 to 27 in the LGBTI community, which is lesbian, gay, bi, trans and intersex. So we're completely open to talking to anybody, you know, open arms, anybody can come in and see us, we'll have a good chat and offer that support that a lot of people do need.
When you say support, what exactly do you mean by support?
Well, some people just need a friend to talk to because we are the minority, so a lot of people wouldn't have another friend who know exactly what they're going through. So coming along to Tauranga Pride, we can offer that, we can have a chat, sit down, have a chat, have a coffee, just have a talk and just see what's going on, because some people really do want to have a real talk and find out what's going on deep within their own mind.
And I understand you had to go through Rainbow Youth?
Yep, absolutely. So part of that was getting involved with Rainbow Youth in Auckland, and we can't just set up our own youth group because that is completely frowned upon. And also dealing with youth, people want to know that we're protecting our own group members. So part of that is Rainbow Youth have just started police vetting our facilitators. So we know that our group members are in a safe and secure environment where they can be given that support and have a chat.
So what do you guys do on a normal meeting?
On a normal group night, so it meets on Wednesday or Thursday night for about an hour or two. Sometimes we can just freeball it and just sit down, have a chat, bring some food along, watch a movie, play a game, go to the beach. We do various things which are all very fun.
What kind of atmosphere are you guys hoping to create at these meetings?
In Tauranga Pride, the atmosphere that I'm hoping to create is a fun and vibrant atmosphere where people can, enjoy, oh yes, Wednesday night's coming up, yes, group. So coming along to group, it's all fun and games, and as I said before, going out, doing something different, so you never know what you're going to get. We might send out a text the night before, hey guys, we're not meeting at group tonight, we'll be down at the Tay Street Beach, grabbing fish and chips on the beach, so come and see us there.
And how has Tauranga Pride and this process helped you personally?
Personally, for me, being a part of Tauranga Pride, it helped me find the confidence to come out, because coming out is a really, really daunting thing, and a lot of people can commit suicide because of it. So that was really, really good that I had that and had friends, had people that knew exactly what I was going through. And going up to Auckland a couple months ago to see all of the other facilitators, it was great. 17 new best friends that all know exactly what I'm going through, and that was just amazing to have those people to talk to.
Do you think it's becoming easier for young people to come out nowadays in society?
Absolutely, and for me, I work in the hospitality industry, so there's lots of just school-aged people, high school-aged people, and it is quite acceptable in society these days. So it was a lot easier because of work for me to come out, because I know that I had the friends there that love me regardless. Who couldn't love me?
Well, I love you already. Thank you very much, Nick.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for having me.
Draft annual plans have been heard around the country, with everyone fighting for their say. A group of locals from Tauranga have submitted to the council that a skate park be built in the city in hopes of bringing international competitions to Tauranga. I caught up with two of the men behind the idea. Garth, can you tell me about the plea that you made recently to council?
Yeah, sure. We're basically just trying to create a place that skateboarders actually want to be at. A place that has the right obstacles, right heights and angles, and so that we can keep them out of the schools and off the streets. At the moment, we've got pretty rough parks, and people go warm up there and they end up going to schools and finding rails and ledges wherever they can find them. So, yeah.
What happens when a skateboarder goes on a rail or a park or a ledge that isn't actually made for skateboarding? Are you damaging the infrastructure there?
We definitely try not to. Pick and choose pretty carefully. Something's going to fall apart when you jump on it. You're not going to jump on it. And saying that, a handrail at a school or something is pretty sturdy. Might leave a little bit of colour on it, but we definitely don't destroy it. Yeah.
And Glenn, are our skate parks that bad? Are they, do we really need something like that here in Tauranga?
Yeah, well, our skate parks are really dated, I guess you could say. We don't really have anything up to the standard of what is out nowadays. Like, it's kind of traditionally plazas now, as opposed to like the old kind of skate parks that used to be built. And also the ones that we have in this town have just, the layout, the design of them isn't right. It's kind of not what skateboarders want to ride. So I guess that kind of pushes a lot of them to kind of jump out to the streets and schools or go to other towns where they're, because there seems to be a few kind of, plaza style skate parks popping up in other towns. Like Hastings just got a new one, and places like Auckland as well. So yeah, we're definitely falling behind as far as this town's concerned, yeah.
So what then is the difference between a skate park and a skate plaza?
Skate plaza doesn't really look like an ugly old skate park that you see in most areas. It's sort of built with a bit of modern architecture in mind, some nice colours, coloured concrete, plants, landscaping. Yeah, just and basically built with obstacles that we want to skate. Not just that some builder thinks that, is meant for skateboarding when it doesn't actually work how it should.
It's kind of come from like a lot of skateboarders. In the past it's been like town squares and things that have been like the popular places to skate. So I guess it's come from that, and they've made skate parks to look like that. So it kind of feels like it's kind of like skating a street spot, but it's designed to be skatable as well. So there are skate features obviously built within it, but at the same time, it doesn't look like the ugly kind of concrete eyesore that I guess skate parks have been viewed to be over the years. So, and that just seems to be how it's gone. It seems to be what's happening nowadays. So, and that's what skateboarders want to ride, and we're missing that. So I guess that was their whole point behind it, I guess.
Coming up next, the Conservative Party on the treaty. Welcome back. Colin Craig of the Conservative Party has been on the campaign trail recently. I caught up with him to find out about some of his policies and whether he would like to get rid of the treaty.
No, the treaty is very important for us as a country because the treaty is the foundation at which we said everybody should have equal rights and privileges. What we do need to do is get back to one electoral roll, where all New Zealanders are New Zealanders together, voting together for a government together. And so when it comes down to sovereignty, we should have one government democratically elected in this country. And I do believe that our leaders should be democratically elected, not put there because they happen to have a certain heritage or they have certain friends or we're trying to compensate for certain things. A good example of this is recently in Auckland, and other cities will pick this up, they introduced in the unitary plan a requirement to recognise and give significance to Maori spirituality. Now, I think there's a problem when we're writing that into law. I don't believe in this country we should write religion into our laws. And so I'm very clear on this. I don't think any New Zealanders would vote for that sort of approach. And I think we have to be very clear that this needs to be a democratic country in which we're all treated equally. And that will result in a very, very strong, good nation, not a divided one.
And what about the Waitangi Tribunal?
When issues arose around, land and so forth, there was a letter written to Queen Victoria with six grievances. I think they're probably fair enough, and we've addressed those 6 grievances. What's happened subsequent to that is we now have a couple of thousand treaty claims. And I have to say that our view is most, if not all of those, just shouldn't at all be pursued. You can't live forever in a state of grievance, in a state of division, in a state of argument. We need to move on. And the Waitangi Tribunal, which has been around for a couple of decades now, should have done its job. Let's move on as one people together.
What policies would you introduce to stimulate that growth in the agriculture sector?
Well, agriculture, first off, agriculture is so important. And that's why our starting point is let's get rid of the emissions trading scheme. Because what we've done there is we've penalised our agricultural sector. Our trading partners haven't. We're asking our agricultural sector to go in with one arm tied behind their back. And it's totally, unbelievably naive to think that if we have this scheme, somehow we'll influence the behaviour of countries like the US or China, who are genuine polluters. We've got the best and most efficient farmers in the world, so why penalise them? So we start there, that's something that we need to do. Lowering costs for all agricultural producers has to be a good thing, and I haven't met one yet who wouldn't like to get rid of the emissions trading scheme. Beyond that, I think there's a couple of other things that we do need to do. One is we do need to simplify the red tape and bureaucracy. The Resource Management Act has created a lot of barriers for people to move forward. We don't really put a lot of effort into our exporting. There are markets. Singapore would be a great example. Singapore's a nation that has to import almost all of its food requirements. They're right there on our doorstep. They're actually a reasonably wealthy nation, and we only supply 6% of their food. Why don't we send trade missions there and grow our market share? Because we actually produce great food and could be doing that. So there's lots of opportunities for us. People have to eat. Being in the food game is actually the right place to be. It's a necessity of life. People can stop buying wonderful goods that might, entertain them for a moment, but they can't stop buying food. So we need to realise that we are in a very, very good position. Let's make the most of it. Let's support our agricultural producers.
And if you were voted in, would you look at doing something with the New Zealand dollar to try and stimulate manufacturing and support it?
No, I think there's a danger when you start interfering with currency. We already do that a lot. And there are some other parties, for example the Greens, who want to print money, although they've pulled back a little bit from that. But they want to give a mandate to the Reserve Bank to give the Reserve Bank more powers. Banks already have more power than they need, frankly. What we really need is just to see money as a true means of exchange where we don't manipulate it, we don't try and play games with it. When we do, we end up in trouble, time and time again. Economy is actually really not about money, it's about real goods and services. And as long as we remember that and keep focused on that and stop trying to play games with currency, we'll be the better for it.
You'd like to see the government recognise citizen-initiated referendums?
Well, look, when the people of the country get together and decide that they're going to have a vote on something, and just quickly, we had one on law and order where we wanted violent criminals to do longer prison sentences and prisoners to work. Didn't happen. We wanted to reduce the number of MPs. These were overwhelming votes, 80% or 90%. There's no doubt about what New Zealanders wanted. The government didn't want to do that, didn't want to reduce the size of government. Imagine having to lay off some of their mates. But we wanted it. We, the people of the country, wanted it. The anti-smacking law, again, 87% saying bad law, get rid of it. But of course the government said no. Sale of state assets was the most recent one. Over 2/3 of voters said don't sell them. Government said we're just going to ignore you and do it anyway. It's not good enough. Who really does this country belong to? Does it belong to 121 politicians, which boils down to 61 people, because that's a majority vote? Or does it belong to the people of the country? Does it belong to the everyday New Zealander who every so often, about once every 4 years on average, decides to give the government a message? And I think the fact that government ignore those referenda shows that they've forgotten that they're the employee. They're there to serve the people, not to be dictators, not to override the wish of the people. And we need to change it.
If you ever went into a coalition with National, then you would try and stop the asset sales?
Well, look, they've said they're not going to do any more. We certainly wouldn't support any more unless the people of the country supported it. At the end of the day, current position is the people of the country have said no. That means no.
If it came down to it and you're put in the position that you could possibly go into coalition with Labour, would you be considering it?
No, we wouldn't rule it out. I think the difficulty with that, to be fair, is the Greens. The Greens have some policies that we struggle to see sense with. They've got an enormous spending program that they'd like to implement. Just to take one of those, they want to turn all schools into social hubs, which would be a reproduction, a duplication of all those services that we currently provide not through schools. The cost of that would be phenomenal. I just don't support taxing all New Zealanders more to provide services that we actually already provide. So there'll be a lot of difficulty in working with the Greens, and I think that's more likely to be a stumbling block than Labour.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just ahead, making sure you are getting the right information. Welcome back to Central News. There's a growing awareness of how a house should perform when it comes to heat efficiency. More and more people are having their houses assessed, but how do we know the information we're getting is the right information? Well, now there is a qualification.
So there's a two-part to the training. So level 1 is a prerequisite one-day course, and that gives people general but relatively very detailed understanding of home energy use. And then we have level 2, which is a 2.5-day very intensive course, which is looking at all aspects of resource in and out of the home and looks at the house as a complete system. It's all based on science and best practice and independent advice. So people who do want to become a certified home performance advisor need to go through level 1 and level 2 and pass. There is a test for level 1, there's also a test and 2 assignments for level 2. Plus, people who go through level 2 and pass those tests and assignments then have to sign a code of conduct, which is ensuring the way that they will actually approach giving advice. And then there's also a requirement of ongoing professional development for the 3 years that the certification exists.
How many housing performance advisors are there now, and will there be any in Tauranga?
Yes, we have 23 home performance advisors across the country who are all certified, and we have another 5 going through the process at the moment, and we're looking to be running 2 courses a year, so this is the completion of our first course. And we do have a certified home performance advisor in Tauranga, and that's all available through the Community Energy Network website. So anyone looking to find a home performance advisor can go to that site and check where there is someone in the area.
There has been a lot of talk recently about a housing warrant of fitness. What does that actually mean?
So the Housing Warrant of Fitness trials were established by the New Zealand Green Building Council and the University of Otago. And that was really to try and establish a benchmark for how a house, the minimum standard of a house in New Zealand, and that's energy as well as health and a wide range of things. So it's based on the same principles as a vehicle warrant of fitness. So in order to take your car out on the road, it has to meet a minimum standard. Those same principles were applied to a house. The minimum standards are around building code for the basics, but there's also, as I said, energy aspects as well as health and safety, which a lot of houses don't have at the moment because there is no regulation in place for them. So it's really about improving houses to a bare minimum standard. Anything above that is added value, but the minimum standard is that they are safe and able to be heated to an appropriate standard and have the healthy aspects to them.
If you'd like to find out more, you can visit communityenergy.org.nz. That is Central News for today on this Queen's birthday. I hope you had an enjoyable long weekend. You can get in touch with us via our Facebook page or at email news@tvcentral.co.nz. Join me again tomorrow night for more stories from around the Bay of Plenty and the Waikato. I'm Hilary Entwistle. I hope you have a lovely evening.
This has been an Alpha Media production, a division of Television Media Group.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.